Hey guys, welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles! In the last part, we finished the investigation for this episode, and now we are about to start the trial, so without further ado, 20th February, 9:23 AM, the Old Bailey, defendant's antechamber. Well, I never expected this. Who would have thought we'd be back here again so soon?
We are on a study tour of Great Britain, with the intention of learning the country's legal practices. In order to research the latest court procedures here, we need as much court experience as possible.
Well, yes, I suppose that's true, but for the person in the dock, it may well be his or her one and only time in court, and it could be life-changing. In which case, treating it as research may seem a little crass.
Oh, when you put it like that, you're quite right.
Good morning! Ah, Mr. Natsume. Good morning.
Oh dear, are you alright? Your eyes are terribly bloodshot.
The early bird catches the worm, as they say here in Britain. Yes, I've heard that expression. But I really don't want to catch a worm. So I tried desperately not to wake up early, but I was so worried I couldn't catch a wing. And now I'm absolutely exhausted as a result. Do all literary people take things so literally?
Thank you for putting your faith in us today, Mr. Natsume.
I wish I had 9 lives! My whole future hangs in the balance! I'm too terrified to tremble! Really, because I can feel tremors in the floor. I can't do this! I can't take it! Although, welcome student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Yes? I caught a glimpse of the public gallery as we walked by the courtroom. It looked like the opening night of the opera. There were so many people. I had no idea my case was such a notorious affair here in London. Oh, neither did I. Do you know why that might be, Miss Susato?
I'm sorry, Mr. Naruhodo, but I have no idea.
So that all-knowing look on your face is just coincidence then, is it? Don't hide the truth from me! It's because of the Reaper, isn't it? Lord Van Zieks? Is that right, Miss Susato?
I purchased as many different newspapers as I could to find this morning, and yes, Lord Van Zieks is on the front page of every one.
I knew it.
Sometime after the prosecutor was dubbed the Reaper of the Bailey. He stopped appearing in court, it seems. It's been several years now, in fact, until the day before yesterday.
Yes, Inspector Gregson told us something similar, didn't he? The trial 2 days ago marked Lord Van Zieks' return to the courtroom after a very long hiatus. The trial of Magnus McGilded. What a horrible experience that was.
I believe that appearance made even greater waves here in the capital than today's.
But we wouldn't have realized, of course, having only just arrived in the country.
Why is the Reaper back in the Bailey so soon for what appears to be a mundane murder? That's the question that papers are asking, and they are all speculating various answers.
Mundane! Mundane! It's the most significant saga of the century to some of us.
Oh dear, I meant no offense, Mr. Natsume, but that is how the papers are describing it.
Well, lest we also forget the fact that it could spark an international incident. Obviously, the appearance of this infamous prosecutor has caught people's attention. But there's another blatant similarity with the trial of 2 days ago.
Yes, I agree.
Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire, it's you! Me? Well, I suppose that's true.
Both times, it is you who stands against this legendary prosecutor. It can only mean
that you're friends with the Reaper! Please, don't rub shoulders with Deathbringers.
I'm afraid that there's really only one other explanation. It can only be another example, Mr. Naruhodo, of your uncommon bad luck.
Thanks for that. Oh, this is just my luck. Why must be represented by a man with such frail fortune? By the least luck in all your life! Well, let's not forget that it was you, Mr. Natsume, who asked me to represent you. Yes, it's true that I'm just a student new to London with little in the way of experience or skills, or luck. But I promise you this. I will fight your corner until the bitter end, and I will believe in you, Mr. Natsume.
Oh, benevolent local student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. You're not alone here with us, Mr. Natsume. Whatever happens, we will always be on your side.
Oh, benevolent non-locum assistant, Miss Mikoto Esquires. I am in your debt forever.
I shall never forget this.
Mr. Natsume, counsel for the defense. The court session is about to begin. Kindly make your way into the courtroom at once. All right then, Mr. Natsume. It's time. Let's go.
Yes!
This is it. My second appearance in a British courtroom. And my second trial against the Reaper. I hope you're watching over me, Kazuma. Because this time, I won't let my faith waver. I believe in my client to the last. Just like you believed in me. I believe I can do this now. I'm ready for this fight. Oh, I've had a little goosebumps, guys. Alright, 20th February, 10 o'clock a.m., the Old Bailey courtroom.
In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed.
The prosecution is fully prepared, my lord. The defense is ready, my lord. The Nipponese are truly fascinating breed. Sorry, what? Lord Strongheart has told me all about you. That you are a student who arrived in London but 2 days ago. A mere amateur. Do you have a point? Being a compatriot, you feel compelled to try to help the accused, I suppose. Typical Nipponese arrogance.
Forgive me, but I do not believe arrogance is an appropriate description.
Susato-san.
After all, at our previous encounter, the defendant was found to be innocent.
Very true, and a most fascinating, if dark trial, it was too. The tragic conclusion came later, of course. Here's to the acquitted and its unfortunate violent end.
Thank you, counsels. I see both sides are in fine fettle. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, are you ready to carry out your duties here in court as impartial members of the public? You never know when you might be down on your luck, but I believe in fair play for everyone. Well, I must warn you, I'm rather more ruthless than I appear. Oh well, not me. What you see is what you get. I'm a peace-loving fellow. I'm afraid to say I think it's quite possible that Mustached Foreigner did the deed.
Come on, what are we waiting for? No doubt he did it. Anyway.
Sorry? Didn't quite catch that.
Very well, let us proceed. Your opening statement, if you please, Lord Van Zieks. Very recently, Great Britain signed an alliance with a rising power in the Far East. The accused in the dock today is a student from that same land, a certain Mr. Soseki Natsume. And while our country has extended to this foreign student the warmest of welcomes, regrettably, the kindness has not been returned. In fact, this student is accused of a most sinister act. Of plunging a knife into the back of an innocent woman who was doing nothing but walking down the street.
A knife crime? I tell you from bitter experience, those are the worst. Bloody oath they are.
Just look at the swallow, complexion and short stature. He's one of those dreadful Japanese.
Come on, let's get this over with. Come with me now, everyone. 1, 2, 3.
Sorry? Didn't quite catch that.
Pray, forgive the discourtesy of smashing my hollowed chalice here in this great chamber. Allow me to call the first witness to the stand. Very well. Bailiff, lead the inspector in, please. Your name and occupation, please.
Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard.
Would you please summarize the events of the case for the court, Inspector?
The victim is thought to be a young woman in her 20s by the name of Olive Green.
I beg your pardon, Inspector? Thought to be?
Yes, having been stabbed in the back by her attacker's knife, the victim fell unconscious. That was 3 days ago now, and she's been comatose ever since.
What? So they don't even know who she is for sure? Comatose? I see. But her life is not in danger? Fortunately for the Eastern student, the charge will not be murder. Pray, elaborate on the details, Inspector.
Sir, if I could ask everyone to look at this street map. As I mentioned, the incident took place 3 days ago at around 5 in the afternoon. It happened on the pavement running alongside Briar Road, a wide thoroughfare for horse-drawn vehicles. It had not long since stopped snowing as the victim, Miss Green, was walking down the street. Out of the blue, she was approached from behind by the accused and stabbed in the back. Luckily, the young lady's life was spared, and she's currently being treated in one of the city's hospitals. But being unconscious as she is, we've been unable to take a statement from her, of course. This is the case file with everything we know about the victim so far.
Thank you, Inspector. The court will accept the documents as evidence if you please.
The case file has been entered into the court record. Case file, a file containing an overview of the case and details about the victim. She was found with a knife in her back and is currently in hospital, yet to regain consciousness.
What of the weapon that was used?
Before we keep going, I just want to take a look. Details. A young woman rendered unconscious following a stab wound to the back. Victim, olive green female, stout build, early 20s. Location, pavement of Briar Road, east side. Reporting officer, Rolly Beach. That might be of interest for later. Second page,
Additional notes: the victim remains unconscious, her name was gleaned from her personal effects, other details are unknown. Apart from the single stab wound from the large knife, no other signs of injury were observed. The assailant was seen running away by the reporting officer and was successfully arrested the following day. So, this reporting officer seems a bit fishy. But we'll see.
Sir, I have that here. It was removed from the victim's back.
Ouch, that big thing is starting to make me scared to walk down the street now.
With a heavy blade like that, almost anybody would have been able to stab the poor woman.
Even the scragged-looking Soseki-san, I suppose? A common or garden jackknife, I would say. Rather non-descriptive. Thank you, Inspector. The court accepts the blade as evidence. The jackknife has been entered into the court record. Jackknife, large but commonplace folding knife. It was found lodged in the victim's back. Now then, what do we know of the motive? Money or valuables, I presume? Okay, before we do that, I want to check out the knife immediately. Sorry to take away from your curiosity, but it's very imperative in Ace Attorney to be thorough. Oh, okay, so we had the jackknife spring out already? Is that everything? There's no way that's everything. Haha, okay, that's all we can do now? So we can spring it out? Can we do anything else? Okay, that's all we can do for now.
From what we can tell by looking at the woman's possessions, it seems like she's a poor student herself. Hard to imagine she would have had anything much worth pinching, my lord.
I see. Well, in that case, are we looking at some deep-seated resentments toward the victim?
I'm afraid I couldn't say. Apart from visiting second-hand bookshops, the defendant, Mr. Natsume, doesn't appear to get out much. At this moment in time, we haven't been able to establish any sort of connection between him and the victim.
Yes!
If theft and grievance had been ruled out as the motive, what reason could Mr. Natsume possibly have had for stabbing the young woman? Yet you arrested the man in spite of that, in a totally unjustified and heavy-handed way.
Objection!
Pray forgive the discourtesy of flinging freshly uncorked bottle into the public gallery. But your words have soured its hallowed bouquet. For it is you, my learned friend, who is being heavy-handed here. What? Scotland Yard does not arrest people without good cause. That should be beyond question. Inspector Gregson, the prosecution calls for your formal testimony. Explain to the court precisely why the constabulary came to arrest the Nipponese student.
Yes, sir!
Alright, our first witness testimony. Finally, Mr. Natsume's arrest.
As I said, it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the incident occurred, and there was an unusual light fog. Visibility was reasonably good, and there was no one else about by the victim and the accused. Out of the blue, the victim was stabbed from behind and subsequently collapsed on the pavement. The accused ran off, scattering his belongings all over the floor. Those being a number of old books he'd just bought. He was on his way home from a bookshop, it seems. It was just a matter of working out who the books belonged to, and we found the bloke to arrest him.
Okay. Old books, you say?
Yes, my lord. I have a photograph here of the scene of the crime taken immediately after the incident.
Ah, yes, I can clearly see the books to which you are referring. I will take that photographic print as evidence, please, Inspector.
The crime scene photograph has been entered into the court record. Crime scene photograph, a photograph of the scene taken by a policeman just after the incident occurred. A large knife can be seen thrust into the victim's back.
You Nipponese are spineless breed, too cowardly to admit defeat, denying everything despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary.
Well,
Forgive me, Lord Van Zieks, but the defendant is not denying everything as you put it.
What are you doing, Mr. Sato?
Do go on.
Mr. Natsume has admitted to playing some part in the incident. Isn't that right, Mr. Naruhodo?
Well, now you mention it. When we visited him in the prison yesterday, he did tell us what had all happened.
As I was walking along that accursed pavement, I could make out the sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman wearing a green overcoat she was, and just as I went to overtake her, she suddenly let out a little scream and collapsed onto the cold hard slabs of stone at my feet. I was terrified. I had to get away from there. So I ran as fast as my legs would carry me back to my cursed lodgings.
A green overcoat.
Well, that's exactly what the woman in that print is wearing.
Oh my! A photographic print in full color! What will the world come up with next?
The defendant has done nothing more than admit he fled the scene of a terrifying incident. That does not mean that he's guilty of the heinous crime of stabbing the woman in the back.
There was nobody else there at the time. Just the two of them. The victim and the accused. In other words, there is nobody else who could possibly have stabbed the woman. A fact that the accused concedes. It seems this cross-examination could prove to be pivotal, counsel. Proceed, please.
Yes, my lord. Nothing for it. I have to use this cross-examination to turn the tables here. It's our only chance. Mr. Natsume's arrest. But I'm sorry, guys. We will have to see what the cross-examination has got going for us, because we haven't reached the half-hour mark yet, but we almost have. So thank you so much for watching, and tune in for the next episode of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. See you then.